Good day. Today we will be discussing the chapter 1 lesson 9, which is survey. Communication approach involve surveying or interviewing people and recording the response for analysis. In communication approach, you can do surveying, which is self-administered, or you will administer it yourself. Interviewing people also with a direct communication, you can interview and extract information from your respondents. Survey is a measurement process used to collect information during a highly structured interview, sometimes with a human interviewer and other times without. Questions are carefully chosen or crafted, sequenced, and precise ask of each participant. The goal of the survey is to derive comparable data across subset of the chosen sample so that similarities and differences can be found. Usually, survey is done with the use of survey questionnaire. So careful when doing survey or interview, here are some errors in communication research. First, we have interviewer error. Failure to secure full participation, cooperation, or sampling error. You cannot force your respondents to fully cooperate. So what you will do is you will have to develop rapport and make sure that you have established trust within your respondents so that you can extract full information from your respondents. B. Failure to record answer accurately and completely. There are some instances when you conduct your survey, there are some blanks or leaved answers. The respondents either forgot or mislook your questionnaire. So make sure upon receiving the questionnaire, all needed information has been answered. C. Failure to consistently execute interview procedure. Sometimes when the research process has been rushed in conducting it, sometimes there are failures in observance with the accurate procedures in conducting survey. Failure to establish appropriate interview environment. Sometimes with the error in the end of the researcher, sometimes they are conducting survey even in the area or environment which are inappropriate or wherein the respondents is not comfortable. So make sure when you do conduct your research or doing the survey, answering the questionnaire, make sure that your respondents is in comfortable position that they can think and concentrate in answering your survey questionnaire. Falsification of individual answer or whole interviews. Sometimes these are errors if the respondents failed or sometimes missed to answer the data needed. The researcher will have to settle to recourse in answering, sometimes in estimating what should be the answer of the respondent. So it can be considered as falsification of the answer from the respondent. So might be there will be an error in your study. Inappropriate influencing behavior. Sometimes make sure that you researcher will have the humbleness and humility when doing research. You remember you are a person which in need of the responses or data from your respondents. So make sure to treat them appropriately. Physical presence bias. Sometimes um, the researchers or the person conducting the survey, sometimes they do have biases in selecting their respondents. Second, the participant error. Three broad conditions must be met by participants to have a successful survey. The participants must possess the information being targeted by the investigative questions. In your respondents of the study, it must have properly identified who will be your participants of the study if they are qualified in answering your survey questionnaire. The participants must understand his or her role in the interview as the provider of accurate information. So before conducting the interview or the survey, make sure to orient the respondents on what to do and what shall the things that needed to be done before conducting or answering the survey questionnaire. The participants must have adequate motivation to cooperate. So this is necessary, as what I have said earlier, to establish rapport and trust to your respondents in order to motivate them to answer your question willingly. Participation-based error. The participants must believe that the experience will be pleasant and satisfying. Make sure in the orientation that their data, source, or their information are valuable in contributing in the knowledge of research. The participants must believe that answering the survey is an important and worthwhile use of his or her time. The participants must dismiss any mental reservation that he or she might have about participation. So in your survey questionnaire, sometimes or it is required to attach a letter that part of the letter indicating that all information will be treated with highest confidentiality. By failing to respond or refusing to respond, participants create a non-representative sample for the study overall or for a particular item or questions in the study. In survey, non-response error occurs when the response of participants differ in some systematic way from the responses of non-participants. This occurs when the researcher first cannot locate the person to be studied, second is unsuccessful in encouraging that person to participate. Again, we cannot force respondents to participate if they are not willing to answer your questionnaire. All you have to do, if the respondent still refuses for how many times that you have attempted to make him or her answer the questionnaire, so just indicate in your scope and delimitation that there are some respondents that are not willing to participate in your study. Response-based error. Response error is generated in two ways. When the participants fail to give a correct answer, this always happens if your survey questionnaire is not clear in terms of its question, or it has a double meaning. Second, fails to give the complete answer. So that are the two response-based error. So make sure when upon receiving the questionnaire, when you do the survey, make sure you as a researcher secure that all the necessary information has been uh, answered. Choosing a communication method. In terms of methodology, you researcher are tasked also to design what particular survey methodology or methods that you will be using. When the researcher have decided that the survey or interviewing will be the appropriate data collection approach, there are many ways to use in securing information from respondents. A researcher can conduct a semi-structured interview or survey by personal interview or telephone, or can distribute a self-administered survey by email, fax, computer, email, or via internet. So here are the comparison of survey approaches. So we have self-administered survey, which means you will have to send the survey questionnaire to your respondents and they will be the one answering the questionnaire. You let them answer the questionnaire and return it back to you. Telephone interview by means of you will be answering in behalf of the respondents by asking them via telephone or survey via personal interview. So here are some descriptions. Questionnaires are mailed, faxed, or couriered to be self-administered with return mechanism generally included. Computer delivered via internet, and online service computers store, forward, completed instrument automatically. People are intercepted in a central location and studied via paper or computerized instrument without interviewer assistance. Whereas in telephone survey, people selected to be part of this sample are interviewed on the telephone by a trained interviewer. Survey via personal interview, people selected to be part of this sample are interviewed in person by a trained interviewer. So what are the advantages of self-administered survey? It allows contact with otherwise inaccessible participants, those who are busy or don't have time to at the moment. Incentive may be used to increase response rate. Often lowest cost option, expanded geographic coverage without increasing cost, require minimal staff, perceived as more anonymous, allows participant time to think about the question. You can give the respondents uh, the time that they need in order to answer the questionnaire. More complex instruments can be used. Fast access to the computer literate, rapid data collection, participants who can be reached by phone voice may be accessible. Some frame list variable location rather than prospective participants. Visual may be used. So here are the advantages of telephone survey. Lower cost than personal interview, expanded geographic coverage without dramatic increase in cost, uses fewer, more highly skilled interviewer bias, fastest completion time, better access to hard-to-reach participants through repeated callbacks. You can use computerized random dialing, computer-assisted telephone interview. Response can be entered directly into computer file to reduce error and cost. So here are the advantage of telephone interview. And here are also the advantage of survey via personal interview. Good cooperation from participants. Interviewer can answer questions about survey, probe for answer, use follow-up questions, and gather information by observation. Special visual aid and scoring devices can be used. Illiterate and functionally illiterate participants can be reached. Interviewer can pre-screen participants to ensure that she fits the population profile. Computer-assisted personal interviewing responses can be entered into a portable microcomputer to reduce the error and cost. So here are also the disadvantage of or advantages of self-administered survey. So low response rate in some modes, because sometimes when you send the questionnaire, sometimes the respondents will not respond, will not answer, or sometimes they will misplace the survey instrument, or sometimes they forgot to answer the survey. So that's why low response rate in some mode. No interviewer intervention available for probing or explanation. If you have some clarification upon returning the survey questionnaire, then you have no, um, you cannot ask them because it is a self-administered survey. Unless you will have to call them and to verify some um, answers. Cannot be long or complex. Sometimes respondents have this limited time and the boredom will strike them so they cannot give you accurate answer. Accurate mailing list is needed. Often participants returning survey represent extremes of the population skewed responses. So sometimes the error is high in terms of the self-administered survey. Anxiety among some participants. Sometimes they don't know the answer because no one can explain what to do in this survey questionnaire. Direction, software instruction needed for progression through the instrument. Computer security, need for low distraction environment for survey completion. Here also the disadvantage of telephone survey. Response rate is lower than personal interview because by a telephone might be you are assuming that he or she is focused in your conversation, but in real time he or she is doing something. Higher cost of interviewing geographical dispersed sample, especially when you have various respondents with different location. You need to call them individually. Interview length must be limited. Many phone numbers are unlisted or not working, making directory listing unreliable. Some target groups are not available by phone, signal problem, or sometimes they cannot be reached. So respondent or responses may be less complete. Illustration cannot be used. So those are the disadvantage of the telephone survey. Disadvantage of survey via personal interview. High cost. You need to you have the resources. You need to give them time and um, sometimes a motivation in terms of item in order for them to answer your questions or your survey questioning. Need for highly trained interviewers, longer period needed in the field collecting data. Maybe wide geographic dispersion, following up or follow up is labor intensive. Not all participants are available or accessible during your availability. Some participants are unwilling to talk to strangers in their homes. Some neighborhoods are difficult to visit and questions may be altered or participant coached by interviewers. So those are the disadvantage of survey via personal interview. So thank you very much and good day.